Hey guys, this is Z, otherwise known as Dr. Z V, and this is the third part of my nutrition series where I'm going to go over nutrition myths. So, this is some fun stuff I want to talk about. So, the first myth is about all carbs are bad. The quality of carbs matter. Basic makeup of carbs is simple molecules like glucose, fructose, and galactose. Galactose is in milk. So generally, these things are not bad. But basically, when I mention bad carbs, they're basically carbs that are processed and tend to have a high amount of fructose. And if you remember, I mentioned that the metabolism of fructose in overconsumption leads to increased fat storage and causes inflammation, and it disrupts a lot of things in the body, including causing insulin resistance, fatty liver, and so much more. So it's not that all carbs are bad. It's just you got to choose wisely. Good carbs are fruits, vegetables, whole grains, oats, and bad carbs are anything processed, fried, like donuts, cookies, candy. Just if you want to really know, just look at the back of an ingredient. If it says a lot of fructose in it, generally know that it's not best for you in overconsumption. A little bit here and there, not a big deal. The next myth I want to go over is all fats are bad. So, if you remember from my last talk, I mentioned that there are good fats and generally bad fats. So, basically, I'm going to just talk about a little chemistry here. So, basically, what is categorized as healthy fats are unsaturated and polysaturated fats. And generally, these kind of fats are generally liquid in room temperature. But to make it simple, the groups that are in this part are plant oils like extra olive oil, nuts, and then I also mentioned fatty fish, so basically groups of omega 3s and omega 6s. Those are good fats. Now, the bad fats are things that are generally very solid at room temperature, and they're basically in the groups of saturated fats and trans fats. And generally, you don't have to remember these things. When you buy things, you look at the ingredients, and it will say in the back what it says fats, and it'll tell you the breakdown of it. If you see a lot of trans fats and saturated fats, I would stay away from them because in overconsumption, they are more linked to causing inflammation, atherosclerosis, and I just would avoid them or try to minimize them in my diet. And those groups I mentioned are in generally some red meat, some fried foods. Actually, fried in general has this high amount of saturated fats in it. And trans fats, actually, interesting enough, I learned through the process of just educating myself that it's basically an unsaturated or healthy fat that was converted into a saturated fat. So it's an artificial bad fat. The third myth is about eating late makes you gain weight. So it actually matters more about what you do in habits. If you eat late once in a while, that's not a big deal. The problem is if you do it regularly, what happens is that if you eat late, you're generally eating when you're not as active. So you're sedentary, you're not burning as many calories. You tend to be eating the not so great food groups like fried food, refined carbs, and generally increases your hunger because of you not moving much. So generally eating late once in a while is not a big deal. It's more about habits, and what's actually more helpful is what you take in throughout the day. So basically, your total caloric intake is more important. So generally, just remember that once in a while it's not going to hurt you, but if you do it habitually, it's not great. So myth four is clean eating versus dirty eating. Now, that is a statement that I don't like because generally you shouldn't be having a rigid diet in the first place. But what I do recommend is focusing on consuming mostly whole foods that are minimally processed and closer to what you find in nature. And this style allows flexibility to eat ice cream or drink wine whenever you feel on occasion. So, yeah, and if you were to look at this thing in rigidity, basically you would say that frozen vegetables is bad. But frozen vegetables is not bad like refined stuff like donuts or french fries. So, so myth number five is certain food groups cause weight gain. No particular food group causes weight gain. It's more about energy intake and what you expend. Certain food groups make you overeat, and it's generally because of the way it's made. So, fried food and processed food, they have a lot more salt in it, they have more sugar in it. So, it tastes really good. And so, you want to eat more of it. And so, generally, those things promote you to overeat, and which is why you might see weight gain. But if you eat fries once in a while, it doesn't mean you're actually going to gain weight. Myth six is you have to cut out sugar completely. No, you do not. So basically, the quality and quantity matters. So a lot of things have sugar in it, but doesn't mean it's actually bad. So this is where I'm going to differentiate. Like I said, good carbs are fruits, things from nature. The reason why these are generally healthy for you is because fruits have glucose, which is the primary body's source of energy, fructose, which is not the primary source, but we can use it, but in moderation is not a big deal, and sucrose. Plus, it has vitamins and fiber. And when you consume these kind of things, generally your body digests them slower, you're more fuller, and you don't overconsume and overwhelm the body. Versus when you eat fried food with a high content of fructose, the metabolism is different. You tend to eat more because you're not as full. There's no fiber in it, and it has more of a cause of inflammation down the line because of the metabolism of fructose. So the last myth I want to talk about is diet drinks are healthier. There's a caveat. Diet drinks are used to basically transition when you're trying to lose weight and get healthier when you have certain conditions like diabetes, because when you get diabetes, it's usually from overconsumption of certain carbs that basically cause insulin resistance. And so a lot of drinks that people drink that can lead to diabetes if you overconsume them is soda, which has a high amount of fructose in it. So by transitioning to diet drinks, you're basically saying, I'm going to try to cut down on my fructose intake. So diet drinks by themselves, they generally help you in those conditions, but by themselves, I don't wouldn't say they're necessarily healthier. The best option is just drinking water, because the problem with diet drinks is they can also have other additives in it and preservatives that we don't know the long-term effects, and we need more studies to actually, figure out. Basically, nutrition is about patterns over time, not a single meal. So I don't want you to be afraid. I just want to just sit back and be like, hey, I want to feel better. What can I do to change that? And you can go from there. It doesn't have to be restrictive. I don't believe in cutting out one complete thing. Just look at what you do overall, think about moderation, and go from there. So stay tuned for my next episode. It's going to be basically nutrition for runners. And for me, it was great to know this too, because there's some things that I need to adjust for myself when it comes to fueling pre, during, and after runs and before races.